GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action.
Good morning, Montreal. I'm Lauren Dupuis. Today we'll break down the city's decision to cancel the GMNA modular housing project over contamination, preview the $134 million Place des Arts theater renovation, and note traffic is clear this morning. Over to you, Ryan.
The National Bank Open in Montreal features 71 of the world's top 72 players competing this week.
The tournament begins tomorrow, with early matches scheduled on the main court at the downtown venue.
Ticket sales reached a record high last month, filling over 90% of available seats for the event.
All right, let's get into it, and jump straight to today's headlines, starting with the latest local news updates. Good morning, Montreal. Eastbound traffic on Highway 40 will be halted between the Côte de Liesse interchange and Highway 15 beginning this evening and remaining closed through Monday morning. The shutdown, part of scheduled work, affects a key east-west artery that carries thousands of commuters daily. Drivers are urged to seek alternate routes, such as the nearby Autoroute 15, the Champlain Bridge Corridor, or local arterial roads, to avoid the anticipated bottlenecks. SDM and the Provincial Transport Ministry have warned that detours could add significant travel time, particularly during peak rush periods. Emergency services will maintain access for responders, and signage will be posted along the affected stretch. Freight carriers using the corridor are advised to coordinate with their logistics teams, while BIXI riders may encounter longer travel times on routes that parallel the highway. The closure is expected to lift early Monday, allowing traffic to resume its normal flow.
The province has announced it will keep its electric scooter pilot in place until 2028, despite a chorus of warnings from physicians. Health officials say the current regulatory framework leaves children vulnerable to severe injuries, a risk they say has not been adequately addressed. The trial, which began with a limited fleet operating under strict speed caps and helmet requirements, was intended as a short-term assessment of urban mobility. By extending the program, the government signals confidence in the existing safeguards, even as doctors continue to press for stricter age limits and mandatory protective gear. Critics argue the extension could expose more young riders to accidents, while authorities point to data suggesting no surge in serious incidents since the pilot's launch. The decision will shape how electric micro-transport is integrated into streets across the province for the next several years.
Philip Danault, the veteran forward who now leads the Canadiens as their oldest active player, is closing in on a career landmark. The 33-year-old, who joined the club 3 seasons ago, has logged more than 1,200 games in the NHL and continues to contribute on the ice with steady two-way play. Coaches say his experience and work ethic remain vital as the team navigates a busy stretch of games. Danault, a native of Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, recently reached a personal best in points per game this season, reinforcing his reputation as a reliable presence. Fans in the Bell Centre have taken notice, cheering each shift as he edges toward the milestone that could see him become the franchise's longest-serving veteran in recent history. He is slated to dress for the upcoming home game, where his veteran presence will be on display.
71 households in Montreal are still residing in emergency shelters a week after the province's unofficial moving day on July 1st. Officials say the tally, released on July 8th, more than doubles the 40 households recorded at the same point last year. The surge reflects the annual influx of renters scrambling for new apartments, a pattern that typically overwhelms the city's short-term housing network each summer. Social service agencies are working around the clock to match families with available units, but the backlog persists as landlords tighten lease terms and vacancy rates climb. City officials warned that the strain could linger if additional affordable options are not secured before the peak moving period ends. Provincial Housing Minister Julie Tremblay said extra funds have been directed to shelters, but capacity remains stretched. City Housing Chief Lucien Boissé-Chéard urged families to register online.
New projections from the Institut de la Statistique du Quebec reveal the island's population will shrink by roughly 10% by the year 2051, a drop that will unfold over the next 25 years. The agency's model, based on current birth rates, migration patterns, and aging demographics, shows a steady outflow that could reverse decades of growth. At the same time, analysts note that demand for new housing is expected to stay high, driven by limited supply and rising household formation. City planners and developers face a paradox: fewer residents, but continued pressure on the rental and ownership market. The forecast arrives as municipal officials grapple with long-term infrastructure and service planning, prompting calls for updated strategies to balance a declining population with persistent housing needs. Policymakers say the data will shape future zoning and transit decisions. Coming up, the Air Canada jet that left the runway at our airport with no injuries, plus more local headlines. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
If you run a venue, a comedy night, a concert, a fundraiser, you already know the hardest part isn't the show. It's selling the seats. Theaterfiller changes that. In minutes, you're set up with your own ticketing page, QR code delivery, and a door scanner. No technical headaches. No middleman taking a cut of your night. Your event, your tickets, your revenue. Go to theaterfiller.com and fill every seat.
Welcome back. I hope you're feeling ready for the day. Let's dive into what's happening in our community, and now our colleague takes us to the local stories.
An Air Canada jet veered off the runway at Pierre Elliott Trudeau International Airport yesterday, prompting officials to shut the strip temporarily. The aircraft, which had just touched down, left the paved surface without injury to passengers or crew. Trudeau Airport officials confirmed that the runway closure lasted several hours, causing a cascade of flight delays and cancellations through Thursday evening. Airline representatives said the plane was inspected and cleared to taxi to the gate once the runway was deemed safe. No emergency services were required beyond standard ground crews, and the incident is under investigation by Transport Canada. Travelers waiting at the terminal reported long lines and rebooking efforts, while the airport worked to restore normal operations before the night shift. Management coordinated with airlines to reroute departing aircraft to alternate runways, extending wait times for passengers on connecting itineraries.
Artists have turned the shadowed space beneath the Metropolitan Expressway into a vibrant outdoor gallery. In St. Mitchell, a group of local creators began applying large-scale murals on Thursday afternoon as part of an early pilot to shape a new cultural hub. The work expands the Quartier des Arts du Cirque outdoor exhibition, adding bright scenes that stretch across the highway's underside. City officials say the initiative aims to revitalize the neighborhood, inviting residents and commuters to experience art while waiting for traffic. The murals feature themes of community, movement, and the neighborhood's history, offering a daily splash of color for pedestrians and drivers alike. Parents walking children to school and cyclists heading to the market now pass the bright walls, turning a commute into a brief cultural pause. The project remains underway, with more paintings scheduled throughout the summer, turning the expressway corridor into a living showcase of local talent.
Yesterday, the Martinez-Ferrada administration announced a review of the Bayry Street construction project, signaling a possible shift in the bike lane design slated for the downtown corridor. The City of Montreal said officials will reassess the current plans after weeks of traffic disruptions and complaints from residents and merchants along the thoroughfare. The review could lead to changes in lane widths, surface materials, or the overall layout, affecting cyclists who rely on the route for daily commutes and shoppers navigating the area. Construction crews remain on site, so motorists should continue to expect detours and reduced lane capacity. Delivery drivers and public transit operators have also voiced concerns about the narrowing of lanes and potential delays to their schedules. City officials have not set a timeline for any modifications, but they pledge to keep the public informed as the assessment progresses.
71 of the world's top 72 tennis players have arrived for the National Bank Open, the premier ATP Tour stop in the city. Headliners include Italy's Jannik Sinner, fresh off a major title, and Canada's Felix Auger-Aliassime, who will be playing in front of a hometown crowd. The tournament, held annually at the Stade IGA, brings the sport's elite to local courts, offering fans a chance to watch nearly the entire top tier in action. With only one top-ranked player missing, the draw promises high-intensity matches from the opening day. Ticket holders can expect a packed schedule of singles and doubles as the competition unfolds through the week, turning the city into a global tennis hub for the next several days. Only one top-ranked player is absent, underscoring the tournament's pull for nearly the entire elite field in the season.
CF Montreal announced today that defender Luca Petrasso has agreed to a new deal that will keep him in the club's back line through the 2029 season. The 26-year-old, who broke into the first team last year, will now be under contract for the upcoming 2028-29 campaign and the following season as well. Club officials said the extension reflects both his steady development and the desire to maintain a solid defensive core as the team pushes for playoff spots. Fans can expect to see Petrasso anchoring the back line at home games throughout the summer, adding continuity to a squad that has been reshaping its roster. The move also gives local supporters a familiar name to rally behind as the club looks ahead to the next few years.
Now, let's turn to our weather team for a quick look at today's conditions.
Western jet stream surging at 134 kilometers per hour drives today's calm, high-pressure spell. On this date, Montreal's all-time heat peaked at 36.1 degrees Celsius in 2020, a brief surge during an unprecedented western heat wave that pushed the jet stream north. The coldest reading was 12.3 degrees Celsius in 2016, when a lingering Arctic front slipped southward and stalled under a weak ridge. By contrast, today's climatological normals sit near 24 degrees for the high and 18 for the low, illustrating how today's temperatures sit well below the historic extremes. Zooming into the live radar, the screen is completely clear across southern Quebec and the St. Lawrence corridor. No echoes appear, confirming the absence of any rain bands or convective cells. The calm picture reflects today's high-pressure dome, reinforced by the western jet that is slicing overhead without forcing lift. With the atmosphere stable, precipitation will not reach the city, and the map will stay quiet through the afternoon. At 7 a.m., Montreal sits at 18 degrees with partly cloudy skies and 90% humidity. A gentle west wind blows at 10 kilometers per hour, gusting to 21, while pressure is rising under a high-pressure ridge that is consolidating over eastern Canada. The western jet stream overhead, moving at 134 kilometers per hour, caps the air mass and suppresses any upward motion, keeping the day dry. Temperatures will climb steadily, reaching 21 by 9, 24 at noon, and peaking near 26 in mid-afternoon before easing to 25 by sunset. The UV index holds at 3 and wind remains light, max 11 from the south. No weather alerts are in effect. With the atmosphere settled, we now turn to the 5-day outlook. Friday brings a high of 26 and a low of 15 under clear skies as the high-pressure ridge persists. Saturday mirrors Friday, with another 26 maximum and 15 minimum, the jet remaining aloft and dry. Sunday nudges a degree warmer, 27 at the peak, while the low climbs to 17, still clear and sun-dominated. Monday the cloud cover thickens. Despite a high of 27, the low rises to 20, producing overcast conditions as a weak frontal boundary slides eastward. Tuesday turns the heat up sharply, a high of 32 and a low of 20, mainly clear with a 20% chance of rain in the afternoon as the jet dips slightly and moisture returns from the Great Lakes. The pattern shows a gradual warm trend with increasing instability later in the week. And that's your weather. Remember, the local sunrise is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic eases with delays. The Montreal Roses have signed 2 international stars, and Chamber Spotlight shines on dragon flowers. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
Autoroute 25 and the Louis-Hippolyte-Lafontaine Tunnel are closed this morning, pushing traffic onto nearby east-west corridors. Drivers heading downtown from the east will see a steady stream on Rue St. Laurent and Boulevard René Lévesque, adding roughly 10 to 15 minutes. On Autoroute 40, the Félix-Leclerc segment remains under restriction, so lane reductions are in place through St. Laurent, causing a similar 10-minute delay. If you need to cross the river, the Champlain Bridge stays open, though a short queue may form as vehicles merge from the tunnel detour. Airport-bound travelers should avoid the closed Autoroute 25. The best alternative is to stay on Autoroute 40 east to the Descartes exit and follow signs to the airport. Aside from these zones, the rest of the network moves freely, with no accidents reported. Looking ahead to the afternoon, the closures remain, so plan alternate routes or consider the commuter rail if you can.
First up, the 2026 of FPIKNIC erupts today at Jardin Le Petit Prince-on-Parc Jean Drapeau, a 3-hour electronic marathon with Zeds Dead, Wethin and more, under the stars. Perfect if you're craving a high-energy soundtrack for the summer night. Next, Comedy Legends takes the stage at Estrella on St. Laurent, where Montreal's sharpest comics share the mic alongside touring acts, giving you a guaranteed laugh for a relaxed morning before the weekend. If you are in the mood for something whimsical, head to Parc Léo Jacques for Medieval's Lanadier, a fantasy fair of jousting, circus acts, and historic reenactments that transports the whole family back in time, great for kids and history buffs alike. Looking ahead, tomorrow Conoake hosts the Echoes of a Proud Nation powwow, a celebration of Indigenous dance, drumming, and culture with workshops and storytelling you won't want to miss. That's your quick guide to today's must-see happenings. And now here's Tyler with sports.
Big moves in Montreal soccer, and a Habs farewell worth noting. The Montreal Roses made a splash earlier this week, confirming the signings of Marie-Yasmine Aladou and Yves Perisset. Both players bring international pedigree to the club, according to CBC Sports Soccer. The Roses are clearly building with ambition heading deeper into the Northern Super League season. The Northern Super League is attracting serious outside attention. An international sports firm has committed $30 million to the 6-team Canadian Women's Pro League, which is currently in its second season. Montreal is among the 6 clubs benefiting from that growing financial backing, per CBC Sports Soccer. A notable chapter closed for the Montreal Canadiens late last month. The organization traded longtime forward Brendan Gallagher to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for future considerations, according to CBC Sports NHL. It marks the end of a long run in Montreal for the veteran winger.
Dragon Flowers, a boutique florist tucked into downtown Montreal, is asking neighbors to rally after its delivery tricycle was stolen last week. Owner Tammy Lau relies on that bright red bike to zip fresh bouquets from the shop to offices, weddings, and birthday tables across the city. Without it, orders are delayed, and the rhythm of spontaneous flower gifts that brighten our streets is at risk. Lau is launching a community watch on social media, hoping a quick tip will bring the bike back and keep the pedals flowing. It's more than a shop. Dragon Flowers turns ordinary moments into celebrations, reminding us that a simple bloom can lift the spirit of any Montreal corner. Stay tuned for a bright note, as local artists transform the expressway with vibrant murals, sparking a new cultural hub.
Coming up tonight at 6, the local sunset. Your neighborhood, your city, your news. From City Hall decisions to the stories happening right on your street, we cover what matters most to Montrealers. Join us tonight at 6 p.m. on GMNA for the local Sunset Montreal's evening newscast.
In the quiet streets of Lachine, just beyond the St. Lawrence's gentle curve, residents gathered on a Saturday morning at the Old Marinas Pier. Longtime boaters, families with toddlers, and a few local artists set up folding chairs, coffee mugs, and a speaker that played folk tunes while the city's planning committee unfolded a modest table of maps. Mayor Valerie Plont arrived in a blue sedan, greeted the crowd with a smile, and explained that the proposed redevelopment of the historic dock would stretch the municipal budget far beyond what the community could comfortably bear. She spoke of the town's cherished green pathways, the children's playground that now sits where the dock once stood, and the volunteers who have planted native lilies along the water's edge. The turning point came when a teenage girl, holding a sketch of a community garden, asked if the city could channel its energy into preserving the space they already love. The mayor's nod and the spontaneous applause turned a budget debate into a shared promise to protect the shoreline for future generations. We'll carry that sense of togetherness with us as we step out into the day.
Inside the bustling Palais de Congrès, the hum of excitement rose like a chorus of laughter and music. Families, students, and seasoned fans streamed through the glass doors, their costumes a kaleidoscope of color, a superhero cape brushing past a vintage comic book jacket, a dragon-scale mask catching the morning light. Over 67,000 people filled the hall, a record that turned the convention into a citywide celebration of imagination. One quiet moment stood out. A 7-year-old with a handmade shield approached a famed illustrator, shyly offering a sketch of a brave heroine. The artist knelt, examined the crayon lines, and whispered that the child's story could one day fill a panel of its own. The child's grin lit the room brighter than any neon sign, and the crowd around them erupted in applause, sharing in that simple affirmation. Tonight, the Palais de Congrès will echo with stories of friendships forged, dreams renewed, and a community that grew stronger together. It's moments like these that remind us how connected we all are.
Thanks for joining us, Montreal. Tonight's look at the artists turning the expressway into a vibrant mural corridor reminded us how creativity reshapes our city. Stay safe, keep the conversation going, and we'll be back tomorrow with more stories that matter to you. Good night, Montreal.